We'll call this hearing to order. My name is Joan Woodard, and I'm the hearing examiner this evening. The purpose of this hearing is to allow me to receive evidence and testimony on the matters that are pending. I make a recommendation only to the county commissioners. I do not make the final decision. I will be submitting my recommendation to staff within 2 weeks of this evening's hearing. The application will then be scheduled for deliberations before the county commissioners. If you wish to give testimony, I need you to, if you're here in person, to fill out one of the sheets in the back. And when you come to the podium, please give your name and address for the record before you begin your testimony. If you wish to give your testimony online, we would appreciate it if you could raise your hand through Zoom, and we will call on you. State your name and your address for the record as well. Our order of proceedings is that first staff will introduce the application, then we will hear from the applicant. After the applicant's testimony, we will then get into the public comment period. We will hear from those who are in favor, those who are neutral, and then those who are opposed. The public not speaking will be read into the record. We will then give the applicant and/or representative an opportunity for rebuttal of any testimony stated into the record from the public before we close the public hearing. After that point, we will receive no more testimony. The time limits are 30 minutes for the applicant's presentation, 5 minutes for public testimony, and 15 minutes for applicant rebuttal. I would ask that you direct all of your testimony to me and not to any audience. Any questions regarding these proceedings? Not seeing any in the room, I'm going to assume that we don't have any hands up on Zoom.
Nothing on the Zoom.
Great. Then we will proceed with our first case of the evening, which is case number 7, case numbers ZON 20-0002.
Good evening. For the record, Vlad Finkel with Kootenai County Community Development. Thank you for stating the case number. This is a request by Mr. Webb for the rezone of an 8.6 acre parcel of land from rural to commercial zone. The subject parcel of land is located on the north portion of the county, directly south of Highway 54, adjacent to the city limits of City of Apple. The current zoning map shows a number of parcels in the county that are zoned commercial and rural adjacent to the subject parcel of land. However, there was a recent annexation of the property to the north. It's a small peninsula, which includes the newly constructed development, which consists of Super One store and other commercial businesses that are currently under construction as the adjoining businesses in the area. The comprehensive plan designation for said parcel of land is transitional and does contemplate rezones that could easily be annexed into the future into the city limits with the provision of municipal services. The subject parcel is located within the area of city impact of City of Apple, and we did solicit comments from the city when we conducted an agency comment period. These are some of the photos of the subject site. It's relatively flat, it's currently not developed, and it has great access from the adjoining public road to the west, which is Silverwood Road, and Highway 54 to the north. Here are a couple more photos of the adjoining state highway to the north of this parcel of land. In discussion with the applicant's representative, I was advised that there is a historical access approach available off of Highway 54, and one can also be obtained from the Lakes Highway District off of Sylvan Road. Through the agency comment period, we solicited comments from these agencies, and all of them had no issue with the proposal. The City of Apple officials stated that they had no comment on this matter at this time. There were a couple of comments that were brought up to the county with regards to access, one of which was the highway district that posed some concerns over future dedication and improvements of the adjoining right-of-way. And the Idaho transportation official also stated that they would need to issue an approach permit. Staff understands these requirements, recommendations, or concerns. However, because this is a zone change application cannot be conditioned. During the public comment period, we only received one comment in opposition, very little response from the adjoining neighbors. Staff's recommendation and analysis. The parcel is self-limiting based on the overall acreage and PhD guidelines in terms of effluent discharge would apply over the Rezone Prairie Aquifer. As I just stated, because this is a zone change and it cannot be conditioned, one of the solutions that we have written in our code is any commercially zoned property that fronts a state or federal highway requires a special notice process, which in staff's view would resolve any of the outstanding requirements or recommendations that were brought up in light of this zone change request. What that means is if the zone change is approved, once the applicant submits an application for a special notice permit, we will be addressing access, traffic impact, sanitary requirements, in terms of effluent discharge, and fire protection requirements. Therefore, being that there is another process for review and approval of future improvements, we believe that this request should be approved. And moreover, because of the recent changes in the area, we believe that this will be a great fit within the county, and likewise should the city of Athol, with the approval of the owner, annex this property into the city limits. One point of clarification I'd like to make is that I noticed in the staff report that was prepared, while the county did list all the applicable legal standards, the city of Athol ACI section of the code was missed. I'd like to add that into the record that this application was reviewed based on the merits of or the requirements of said section of the code, and it doesn't present any concerns at this time. I stand for any questions that you have.
That'll be HU 1001.
Thank you. I don't have any questions for you, Vlad, right now. Thank you. So now we'll hear from the applicant. Connie Kruger is their representative.
Hello, this is Connie Kruger. I am working to adjust my screen here. Give me just one moment.
We hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect.
And when you get started, if you'd state your address for the record.
My apologies for that. I must have hit an odd button here. My name is Connie Kruger, and my address is 1859 North Lakewood Drive, Suite 102, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, 83814. Today I have a presentation for you for the Rezone, so I'm going to move over to a screen share. Just a moment for that. Okay. So as I've mentioned, I'm Connie Kruger. I am a certified planner, and I am here representing Lauren Webb as the property owner for this application. Today's presentation topics are outlined here. I won't address each of those, but these are the items that we're going to work through. Vlad has presented on some of the information, so I'll move through that quickly as I hit each slide. So to start with, we have our property information, and just to highlight, this property is located east of Apple and west of Bayview, and this is on the south side of State Highway 54. And this consists of one lot of the reconfigured lot 1 and 2 of the Waffle Ranch subdivision. And the property, as was mentioned before, is 8.678 acres in size. And so you can see here where it lies within the Apples area of city impact. And then a close-up view of the property relative to Highway 54 and Silverwood. Today's proposal is to rezone the property from rural to commercial. These are excerpts from Prairie County Code, and the first is the general description for the rural zone. And it states that the rural zone is a zoning district which is suitable for rural residential uses and uses related to agricultural pursuits, including farming and forestry. And we're here tonight to talk to you about how this area has changed, and we think that it no longer fits the definition of rural residential and fits more concisely with the definition of a commercial zone district. The circumstances that justify this amendment, we have the surrounding commercial zoning, and we'll cover each of these with a little more detail. Also, the change in land uses in the Silverwood to Apple region, and the infrastructure that is available in the area or can be available for commercial use. This graphic depicts zoning and land uses of adjacent and surrounding area. And to highlight what the colors mean here is you see this salmon color up here in the Apple area. Those are areas that are zoned commercial that are located in incorporated city limits of the city of Apple. And you can see here the new Silverwood foods, and this is now called the Crossings at Apple. So this has become a multi-use development site. We also see the south of this, and on both the west and the east side of Highway 95, commercial zoning lies within the county, which is in red. And you can see that this proceeds down and encompasses the Silverwood area in the Silverwood RV Park. Also highlighted are areas that are blue, and these are areas where we have either industrial or commercial types of uses that are occurring that have rural zoning at this time. So we have the ITD maintenance yard, which is located here just north of Silverwood, and then also the Cab Log and Timber, which is a home manufacturing site. So as you can see, there's a lot happening in the area between Silverwood and Apple, lots of change, and lots of commercial zoning in the general area. These are some photos of the land use that exists in this area. The top left photo and the center photo on the top are both depictions of the crossings at Apple. This is now under construction. A portion of it is already constructed with the Silverwood store, and there are 3 new commercial buildings on site that we'll take a look at in a minute. We'll move on to the ITD service yard. This picture is just taken from the road. The site is much larger than that. It's kind of hard to pull into one photo. But again, the very industrial nature of use that's happening in that area. Down on the lower left is the timber. This is the home manufacturing site. And then you see Silverwood with all of its offerings. And to the right is the new Silverwood RV Park. So just a little idea of the types of uses that we see happening in this area. It used to be primarily wooded and very rural in nature. These are photos that were taken from a video, so they're slightly blurry, but these are 3 of the new buildings that are under construction at the crossings at Apple. So we have a credit union, I believe maybe an auto parts store, a couple of different things that are being constructed really quickly, and they would likely be opening before the end of 2012 calendar year. Moving on to infrastructure that's available in the area, Rod talked a little bit about some of the access within the area. So our site is over here, where you see the blue arrow, And this blue arrow is specifically pointing to a approach that was granted to this property owner. And this was granted in 1967 as part of the widening project for the Highway 54 project. This is currently a residential approach, but I have discussed this with ITD, and as you know, we have some comment from ITD on the record indicating that this could be revised to become a commercial approach. With that, you would do trip generation, letter, possibly traffic studies. It's possible that there could be some improvements in the area, but all of that is dependent on use and it's dependent on future permitting with ITD. We do have along Sylvan a joint residential approach. To convert that to a commercial approach would require that we work with Lakes Highway District and we also go through a similar process of obtaining a joint commercial approach. And so Lakes has that, it is on the record, and it's something that the property owner is well aware of. So again, when we look at this area, it's surrounded with substantial highway infrastructure on both the north and the west side with I-95, and a growing area where it is well serviced and where it can well service the area also. Brad also hit on the fact that any development of this site will require a special notice permit, and that will allow for additional public comment and possibly mitigation of the impact. So that, in tandem with the ITD permitting, tends to mitigate any traffic issues that we might see in the area. In terms of infrastructure, this property is located over the route from Prairie Aquifer. In this area, we've done an analysis of the well depths, and well depths are averaging 378 feet with high production levels of 54 gallons per minute. We also have some large production wells around the city of Alpha and some larger private fire protection wells. So we do have the average, but by and large, good production levels in the area and good well depths to be working with. We are aware that this time we'll be using on-site septic to serve the site, and it's important to note, and there's a section within the narrative that addresses the fact that commercial installations and the wastewater volume that's generated requiring treatment will vary quite a bit depending on the facility member visitors, basically who the users are of the system. And so there are a number of different uses that can be made wastewater generators, and we believe that we can work with on-site septic limitations until sewer becomes available. I've spoken with the Northern Lakes Fire District. This is actually a utility fire district, but a lot of the fire districts follow the lead of Northern Lakes. And they've looked at fire flow issues, and there's an ability there to install a pump system on the well or provide on-site fire storage through a reservoir. And the fire district is able to work with smaller on-site reservoirs because they've adopted policies related to basically trying to fight structural fires, but then moving on at a certain time to protecting adjacent structures, understanding that Cooney County is largely a rural area. The effects of the rezone, we have, first of all, the effective amendment on the subject property and the property rights and the character of the neighboring properties. We know that the character of the in terms of land use or commercial zoning, and we're consistent with that. And as the site redevelops, there is an understanding that there will be an increase in noise, traffic, and utility needs, all of that relative to the type of use that is proposed, which at this time there is not a use proposed. But as was outlined earlier, there are ways to be able to mitigate this through existing regulations and through the existing approach permitting processes that we would go through with the Highway District and the ITD. What would be the effects on the property owner be if the proposed amendment is not granted? This is a rural zone with a minimum lot size of 5 acres, and so we know in this case that the owner would underdevelop the lot. We would struggle with marketing and selling the property with very large and increasingly impactful commercial use across the property or across the road from it. And as the rural use of the site was, it is more difficult to basically make that merge with other commercial properties as they develop. So there are incompatibilities with rural, and this would be an issue that the county would be dealing with for future permitting. So we believe that this is a proactive solution that allows for future commercial development of property in a manner consistent with this emerging commercial hub. As we discussed, we are proposing commercial zoning. In terms of the comprehensive plan, this is a transitional area, as Brad has mentioned. And the comprehensive plan states that transitional areas should be easily redeveloped when annexed into cities. And that there are non-residential uses, so these commercial areas should basically be there to support the rural transitional area and also provide economic development opportunities to serve the surrounding community, which in this case we believe will serve Apple and will serve Bayview. Some of the comments that Brad has already addressed, but very quickly, county building, basically a requirement of future construction of the building code requirements. The city of Apple really had no comment. We did have earlier discussion with them where they indicated no interest in moving toward annexation. We did talk about utility extensions and what those might look like in the future, but at this point in time, Apple is not interested in annexing the property, and they are not interested in the utility plan for the area. The Timber Lake Fire Protection District had no comment, and its highway district discussed the trip generation and distribution analysis, and that this could trigger a traffic impact study, which could result in a turn lane and right-of-way dedication and so on. Hamilton Health District had no objection. We did state that wastewater would be limited to 250 gallons per day, and we have one comment form that was received against, but with no specific reason cited. In summary, we believe this is a transitioning area. It's located on a major highway with convertible access rights, and that's convertible in terms of moving these from residential approaches to commercial approaches. Utilities can be located on site, and when Apple is interested, we can annex, and the owner would likely have interest in doing that. We will be exercising our property rights in a similar manner to other surrounding property owners who have commercial zoning. We believe this to be consistent with the purpose of the transitional designation in the county's comprehensive plan, and we're no longer in an area that's primarily rural in nature, and so not rezoning this will result in the development of further incompatible land uses in the area. And we do know that our traffic impacts will be evaluated and further addressed at permitting with ITE and Lakes Highway District. So we have the findings and conclusions, and we believe, I'm not going to go through each of these, but we believe that we meet each required finding to be approved for the rezone. So with that, we're available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. That was a very thorough explanation, and I don't have any questions right now. So we'll move into public comment. We'll first hear from those who are in favor, and I have Lauren Webb.
Yeah, I'm the owner. I'm here. I'm obviously in favor, and I'm here just in case Connie had any questions or needed me to answer anything.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on our Zoom list who is wishing to speak on this case? You can put your hand up or unmute yourself and chime in.
Looks like that's it.
All right, then, Ms. Kruger, any final words?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. And that concludes the hearing on ZON 20-0002. And now we'll move on to case number I have trouble with Z. Case number ZON 20-0003.
Connie, would you mind quit sharing your screen? Oh. Connie? Connie? Could you quit sharing your screen for us so Vlad can move on?
I hear you. Hang on one sec.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay, Vlad, I think you're up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm trying to share my screen.
There you go.
Once again, for the record, Vlad Finkel with Kootenai County Community Development. This is a similar zone change request, case number ZON 20-003, by two adjoining property owners, the Hannenbergs and Grass Camps. The two parcels of land are totaling approximately 17.5 acres in size and directly abut the Silverwood theme park to the north, between Silverwood and City of Athol. The parcels are currently zoned rural, and as you can see, based on the zoning map, the entire theme park is zoned commercial. So in essence, this would be the extension of the zoning of the commercial zoning designation heading north towards the City of Athol. These parcels of land are currently developed, and I believe there is a residence and outbuildings on each of the adjoining parcels of land. These two parcels gain a shared access approach directly from Highway 95. The comp plan designation is also transitional, as in the previous case, and as Connie and myself have both stated, the transitional zoning allows for a rezone of property that could be easily annexed into the city limits at some point in the future when that becomes an option, an available option. The two parcels are located on the outskirts of the City of Athol ACI, and I don't believe we even received a response, or if we did, it was no comment from the City of Athol official. These are some of the photos of the property. There is a rock outcropping on the east side next to the joined shared access approach from Highway 95 heading into these two parcels that are currently developed with residential uses. I'd like to add that the most recent amendment to the Kootenai County Code as of last fall has now allowed primary residential uses without establishing a commercial use on site. Therefore, the existing uses would not be conflicting with the current primary uses allowed in the commercial zone should this application be approved. These are some more photos of the property with the photo key of where they were taken. We did solicit comments from various agencies with very little to any concern. The ITD official did state that the future access encroach permit will need to be reviewed and approved at the time of development. During the public comment period, we received, one comment that was neutral, very little response from the public on this matter also. Staff's analysis and recommendation. This is a similar request where the two parcels are fronting a state highway, and therefore the condition by the ITD official can and will be imposed through the special notice permit process as a condition of approval, since it can't be required as part of the zone change request. The special notice permit can also handle other requirements in terms of the effluent discharge, fire protection needs, landscaping, screening and buffering, and so forth, all of the requirements that are a standard in the commercial zone. That being the case, staff does support the application because of the ever-growing changes in the area, and as Connie had mentioned, This area is rapidly transitioning with commercial development along these transportation corridors, and would be a great asset to support the residential development in the area. One last point I'd like to make is that this application or this staff report also mentions or addresses Kootenai County Land Use Code Title 8 and addresses numerous articles. However, I did also not include Section 10.1, the Athol ACI section of the code that needs to be part of the applicable legal standards in this application. But it doesn't present any concerns because the city of Athol had no issue with the proposal. I stand for any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, Vlad. Thank you very much. Ms. Kruger, I believe you're up again as the representative of this applicant.
Okay, this is again Connie Kruger for the record. My address is 1859 North Lakewood Drive, Suite 102, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho 83814. And I have a presentation to share. Let me pull this up. Okay. So as has been discussed, these projects are both within the same or within a very short distance from each other. And so there are a lot of things that you will hear tonight on this application that will be similar to the other application. But there are some differences. So again, I'll move fairly quickly through the slides and make sure that we highlight those as we come upon them. So again, for the record, the owners are the Tony and Bonnie Henberg Living Trust and Dirk and Sherry Graskamp, and I am Connie Kruger representing the owners. Again, these are the topics that we'll be covering, and I will be moving through each slide relative to these. This slide shows the location and property information. So we can see that we're located south of Athol, but within the Athol ACI, and we're located north of the Silverwood theme park. This property is located on the west side of US Highway 95. The Graskamp lot is 7.84 acres and the Henneberg lot is 9.59 acres. In this case, we are requesting rezone from rural to commercial. And again, the rural zone under Kootenai County Code is a zone which is suitable for rural residential use and for agricultural pursuits, including farming and forestry. And we are here tonight to provide information on why we think that this property is suitable for commercial zoning as versus rural. Some of the additional circumstances that justify the amendment: the surrounding commercial zoning we've hit on, the changing land uses in the Silverwood to Athol region, the infrastructure for commercial use, and also in this case, the history of difficulty in selling the property for rural use. This is a close-up of the prior map that we looked at, kind of highlighting the areas that are right around the properties that are in discussion tonight. And we can see that we have, again, the ITD service maintenance yard, which is a light industrial use within a rural zone. Big cabin, log and timber also similar to that. Their property actually kind of wraps around and behind this commercial area. We have the Silverwood property, Silverwood RV park further south, and then these two pieces of property here that we'll discuss a little bit more that were recently rezoned commercial and are part of the Silverwood land holdings. So the star is the property that is in for the two properties in discussion tonight. So to talk about the changing land use in the surrounding area, we have the Silverwood theme park, and I'm moving from south to north, the Silverwood RV park, and then here's a picture of that manufacturing operation and also of the ITD service yard. Here we highlight, and at the bottom of the screen, have a little box, oops, sorry about that, discussing that these are two properties that were recently rezoned, and I think that this was just probably within the last 5 years. And in this case, these are owned by Norton Arrow Ltd., which is also the owner of this property to the south of Silverwood. And as you look through the ownership records on both of the properties, all of these properties, including Silverwood, appear to be in the same ownership, even though we have different company names. So basically, this large red land holding is all associated with Silverwood or with Silverwood ownership. So in this case, we show that to show that, or to depict the recent history of similar commercial rezoning adjacent and near our property, but also in fact that Silverwood has also expanded its operations over the years, and this is hit on within the narrative. But as we now have Scarywood. We have more offerings that are going further into the year, and this is just becoming a huge regional attraction in the area, and very definitively a commercial use on Highway 95 corridor. Something a little bit different information here is that in this case, one of the property owners has been trying to sell their land now for a number of years, and they have had a number of sales that have fallen through. In this case, it really relates to trying to take this picture here in the upper left and blend it with what's happening on the right and in the lower picture. So potential buyers are raising concerns regarding living and raising horses and having livestock in close proximity to Silverwood and Highway 95. The current residential approaches, which were recently constructed as part of a 95 construction project, were not really constructed to handle the horse trailer turning movement and other things that will allow for this to be a rural residential use. And so to be able to make the improvements that will actually allow for that level of turning movement, really, it's quite a bit of money, and at that point in time, it really drives you into more of a commercial use of the property to be able to maximize on that. So it's limited for rural use because of functionality and also adjacent impacts. So the thought of the owner is that this property should really be integrated more into the surrounding, increasingly commercial and industrial nature of what's happening around it. And as is noted, these pictures are showing you what's happening in the south. To the north, we have the log home manufacturing operation directly on the northern boundary, and then the ITD maintenance yard, and then further down the road, of course, all of the things that are happening at the Apple crossings. In terms of infrastructure that can support this in transportation, the primary access to the property will be from Highway 95. There is an interchange 1 mile from the property at East Brenner Road and US 95 that facilitates circulation within the general area. And so this is something that we're all pretty familiar with if we've driven up 95 recently with very big interchange that's been constructed there. We also have an intersection that was recently constructed, and if we look at the middle and the bottom pictures, this is a park in US 95, and you can see here that there's a southbound acceleration lane that is also within a quarter mile of the properties. So ITD will require a new approach or a revision of the existing approach permit with associated traffic studies with commercial development of the site. And so how that works is you provide the proposed use, the magnitude of what the use is with your approach permit, and then a trip generation letter. And then they may come back and require you to do a traffic study based on traffic directionality, a host of other things. ITD will come back and will tell you what type of infrastructure improvements would be required to facilitate that commercial use. And as Vlad has discussed, and it's been discussed earlier, there's a special notice permit that the county will go through, which allows for additional public comment and possible mitigation. In terms of utilities, we are over the Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer. The average well depths here are 600 feet, and the production levels are at about 17 gallons per minute, and all of the little blue wells that you see highlighted are all contributing to that well data. In terms of sewer, on-site septic will be used to serve the site, and again, commercial installations will vary depending on what the use is. Fire flow can be through a pump at the well or an on-site fire storage reservoir. And this picture that you see over to the right is actually at Big Timber, and this is one of the reservoirs that the fire district cited to me as an example of what we would see with development of our site. And again, their methodology is based on having enough water stored on site to address how long they can fight a structural fire before they declare a loss. The effect of the rezone, again, the character of this area is either existing commercial land uses or even light industrial land uses and commercial zoning, and we're consistent with that. This would impact surrounding neighbors in much the same way, which would be an increase in noise, traffic, and utility needs, though most of our neighbors are also have noise, traffic, and utility needs that are associated with their land uses. The effect on the property owner if the proposed amendment is not granted, again, and as we've talked about earlier, this is an area where the owner will struggle with marketing and selling the property as a rural residential lifestyle lot in an area that has commercial land uses emerging all around it. It's likely that lots would be underdeveloped. And we believe that this is a proactive solution to develop this consistent with the emerging area around us. This is again a transitional area, and the comprehensive plan states that this is an area that is to provide for transitional service and industries that support the rural area, but also to provide economic development opportunities to the surrounding community. And again, we believe that we can do this with this rezone. In this case, we have comments from Kootenai County Building that future construction must meet building code requirements. The City of Athol stated that they have no comment, but they did within their email state that the property is well removed from the city boundary. Timberlake Fire Protection District had no comment. Panhandle Health District approved the proposed venue design change from rural to commercial. That's the language within their comment letter. And ITD discussed that the change in the use from a residential shared approach, it said shall result in a required right turn lane and acceleration lane to the south. But we know from experience that as you propose a use depending on the use, it may or may not require that. It may require something more significant than that. So again, all of that is subject to future ITD approach permitting. We had one public comment, and this was a neutral comment. In summary, this is a transitioning area with many commercial and light industrial land uses and zoning. We're located on a major highway with convertible access rights. Our utilities can be located on site, and we have low impact uses that can be developed. And there are no or short or long-term utilities planned from Athol. We would be exercising the property rights that are similar to those that have been exercised around us, and believe this to be consistent with the transitional designation and comp plan. We are not in an area that's primarily rural in nature, and if we do not rezone, we feel that this will result in further incompatible land use development of these properties, and that we have the ability to mitigate traffic impacts at the time of future development with ITD. Again, we reviewed all of the findings and conclusions, which are within the staff report and within Kootenai County Code, and we believe that we meet all of those in a manner that would be consistent with approving our rezone application.
Thank you very much. That another well thought out presentation. I don't have any questions right now. We'll go to public comment. We have one request from Mr. Henneberg.
Mr. Henneberg is here at the site and he has no comments.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else who wishes to comment on this case?
Madam Hearing Examiner, during the presentation, when Vlad was presenting, Deborah sent me a note saying she didn't understand her role in this. She's online. I've asked her to unmute. Deborah, if you're still listening, your role, if you're part of the public, is to give us your opinion as to whether you're in favor or disfavor of this project and why, and now would be the time to step forward if you have anything to say. Connie, could you quit sharing your screen, please? Thank you. Deborah, did you wish to speak? I gather not.
And there
And that's
doesn't
it.
appear to be anyone else.
Right, you can see as well as I can.
So, Connie, any last words?
No, that should do it for us.
Thank you very much. Then this concludes the hearing for case number ZON 20-0003. Thank you, everyone.